My belongings, stuffed into garbage bags, were dumped at the gate. My mother and siblings stood by. "You're 25, get out now," she snapped. I smiled, got in my car, and drove away. 6 months later, 60 messages flooded my phone. "Where are you?" "I'm Leah Harrison, 25 years old." Never did I imagine my first successful business trip would culminate in finding my entire life packed in trash bags. Bulging black plastic sacks, filled with my possessions, were lined up at our front gate like somber monuments. My mother stood there, arms crossed, my 3 siblings flanking her like unyielding soldiers. Their faces held no warmth, only cold resolve. The triumphant smile I'd worn since landing vanished as Mom spoke those cutting words. "You're 25 now. It's time for you to get out." Life as the youngest of 4 in our suburban Chicago home was never simple. My father passed away when I was just 7, leaving our mother Sandra to raise us single-handedly. My eldest brother Jackson was 18, Natalie 16, and Kevin 14. While they cherished years of memories with Dad, I barely recalled his face without a photograph. After his death, Mom transformed. The warm, laughing woman from my earliest recollections hardened into someone who equated love with achievement and strict obedience. She juggled 2 jobs to sustain us, relentlessly reminding us of her sacrifices. "I gave up everything for you kids," became her constant refrain, usually followed by "the least you could do is ... As the family's youngest, I experienced both the advantages and disadvantages of my position. By the time I needed braces or a college tuition, Mom was financially more secure. However, the emotional toll of single parenthood had clearly taken its toll. With iron determination, she controlled every facet of my life, from my friendships to my college major. My siblings, however, adhered to her approved blueprint: Jackson, a surgeon; Natalie, a corporate attorney; and Kevin, a successful engineer. They married individuals Mom favored, purchased homes in sanctioned neighborhoods, and had children precisely when she deemed appropriate. They were her triumphs, concrete evidence of her exemplary parenting. Then there was me. I pursued marketing, not medicine or law. I accepted a startup position instead of joining an established firm, and at 25, stubbornly remained single. While not overtly rebellious by external measures within our family, I was unequivocally the black sheep. "When will you get a real job?" Mom would probe during Sunday dinner. "Natalie was earning 6 figures at your age." Despite these strains, I opted to live at home after graduating college. Initially, it was a practical choice. My entry-level marketing salary was modest, and Chicago housing prices were astronomical. Staying with Mom enabled me to accrue savings and accelerate student loan repayment. "You can stay as long as you need," Mom had said when I first returned. "Family supports family." Yet her support came with unspoken, ever-present conditions. I paid rent, contributed to groceries, and managed most household chores. I drove her to appointments, assisted with tech issues, and endured hours of complaints about neighbors, colleagues, and occasionally my siblings, never when they were present. The dynamic with my siblings was equally complex. To them I remained the baby, someone whose opinions held less sway. During family disagreements, they'd present a united front with Mom, dismissing my views as immature or uninformed. "You'll understand when you have more life experience," Jackson would lecture. Despite my 4 years of independent college living and international travel experiences he'd never had. As I neared my mid-20s, the friction between independence and family obligations intensified. My peers lived in shared apartments, dated freely, and stayed out late without texts demanding their whereabouts. I envied their liberty, yet felt ensnared by financial constraints and familial duty. Then, an opportunity arose that I believed could alter everything. Our marketing firm secured a significant client, and as the team member with the most innovative ideas, I was selected to present our campaign in New York. This marked my first business trip, my first solo pitch to a major client, and potentially my pivotal career breakthrough. The presentation was set for Thursday, with meetings spanning through Friday afternoon. I devoted weeks to preparation, rehearsing until I could recite the pitch flawlessly. The night before my flight, Mom appeared distracted at dinner, barely. Acknowledging my nervous excitement. I'll be back late Friday, I reminded her while washing dishes. Fine, she muttered, eyes glued to her phone. Jackson and Natalie are bringing the kids Saturday. Make sure you're here to help. Swallowing my disappointment at her apathy, I promised I would. Deep down, I'd hoped this professional milestone would finally secure her approval. If I could validate my career path, perhaps she'd perceive me as an adult, not just a disappointing child. The New York presentation surpassed all expectations. Clients adored our campaign, requesting only minor tweaks before approving the 7-figure budget. Afterward, my boss took me to dinner, discussing a potential promotion and raise upon successful project launch. You have genuine talent, Leah, he affirmed. I envision a bright future for you here. His words resonated more deeply than the expensive wine. For once, someone recognized my potential, not my deficiencies. During my limited free time, I bought small gifts. A silk scarf for Mom, craft beers for my brothers, and a designer pen for my sister. Modest tokens of success, peace offerings I hoped would bridge our divide. On the flight home, I envisioned sharing my triumph at the next day's family gathering. Perhaps Jackson would finally stop inquiring about my stable job. Maybe Natalie would cease forwarding administrative job postings from her law firm. Kevin might even stop suggesting a master's degree to catch up to my peers. Above all, I fantasized about Mom's reaction. In my daydream, she'd smile proudly, recounting my achievement to her friends, finally acknowledging my unique, successful path. Little did I know, this fantasy of family validation would shatter moments after my return, replaced by an unimaginable nightmare. A perfect Chicago spring afternoon greeted me as my rideshare departed O'Hare. The city, warmed by sunshine after weeks of rain, felt like a good omen. My carefully wrapped gifts rested in my carry-on. My laptop bag held presentation materials and the signed contract poised to transform my department's budget and career trajectory. I texted Mom my safe landing and ETA, but received no reply. This wasn't entirely abnormal. She often missed messages, engrossed in gardening or church. Still, a subtle unease flickered. Throughout my trip, communication had been sparse, my check-ins met with single-word replies or silence. Halfway home, Jackson's number flashed on my screen. My eldest brother rarely called directly, preferring group chats or Mom as intermediaries. Hello? I answered, curiosity mingling with faint apprehension. Where are you right now? His tone was clipped, professional, the same voice he'd use with a challenging patient. In a car heading home. My flight landed early. Is everything okay? A prolonged silence stretched, quickening my heartbeat. Mom wants to talk when you get home. We all do. About what? Is someone sick? Confusion gave way to alarm. Just get home, Leah. He hung up, offering no further explanation. My mind reeled through possibilities. Had a niece or nephew been harmed? Was Mom unwell? Had a distant relative passed? None explained Jackson's coldness or the collective need to speak. I called Natalie, then Kevin. Neither answered. Messages to our family group chat went unread, marked only by red receipts. Mom's cryptic message from the night before now seemed ominous. We need to discuss some changes when you return. My driver noticed my distress. Everything all right, miss? He asked. Just family stuff, I grimaced, attempting a smile. Turning onto my street, the peaceful neighborhood appeared unchanged, children playing, couples strolling, residents tending gardens. Our modest 2-story home, blue siding and white trim as familiar as my own reflection, came into view. Then I saw them, at least a dozen black garbage bags lining the driveway near the front gate. 4 rigid, confrontational figures stood in the yard. I recognized them instantly. Mom in her gardening apron, Jackson in casual weekend attire, Natalie in impeccable business casual despite it being Saturday, and Kevin in his favored university sweatshirt. You can stop here, I told the driver, my voice sounding distant. I quickly paid, collected my luggage, and stepped onto the sidewalk. The car pulled away, leaving me vulnerable before my family's unified stance. Not one moved to help, nor offered a greeting smile. What's happening? I asked, approaching slowly. What are all these bags? Mom stepped forward, her mouth a grim line. Your things are packed. It's time for you to find your own place. The world spun. What? Why? We never discussed this. You're 25 years old, she continued, as if I hadn't spoken. All your siblings were independent by 23. You've overstayed. You're welcome, Jackson nodded in assent. It's time you learned responsibility. The irony might have made me laugh in other circumstances. I'd been paying rent, managing household chores, working full-time, and advancing my career. By any sensible measure, I was already responsible. This is insane, I retorted, scanning their faces for any hint of warmth or explanation. I just returned from a business trip. I have nowhere to go. You should have planned better, Natalie interjected, glancing at her watch as if my predicament inconvenienced her schedule. We all managed to find apartments right after college. Anger pierced through my shock. With parental co-signing and down payment assistance, I countered, and significantly higher starting salaries in established professions.
Excuses?
Kevin scoffed, shaking his head. You've had 3 years to figure this out. I turned to Mom, desperate for an explanation. Why now, why today without warning? I've been hinting for months that you should move on, she replied. You chose not to listen. Hinting isn't giving notice. My voice rose despite my efforts to remain composed. Normal people discuss major decisions. They don't pack someone's belongings while they're away and ambush them upon return. Don't raise your voice to your mother, Jackson warned, stepping closer. The sheer absurdity of the situation struck me. I was being lectured on respect while being treated with utter disrespect. My family had deliberately waited until I was away to pack my belongings in garbage bags and evict me without warning or discussion. What is this really about? I asked, recalling overheard conversations between Mom and Natalie regarding neighborhood property values. Are you selling the house? A flicker of surprise crossed Mom's face before she composed herself. My financial decisions are none of your concern. They are if they're making me homeless with no notice. You're not homeless, Natalie said with exaggerated patience. You have a job, get an apartment like everyone else. Without references, without time to save for a security deposit, without warning. I challenged, looking at each of them. Do you hear yourselves? Who treats family this way? We're doing this for your own good, Mom insisted. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. By cutting them out from under me. I countered. A passing neighbor walking his dog slowed, openly observing our confrontation. My humiliation deepened, witnessing this family betrayal broadcast to strangers. This is ridiculous, I said, lowering my voice. Let's go inside and discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss, Mom countered. The decision is made. Without any input from me, the most affected person. Your input has been your continued failure to launch, Kevin interjected. We've all discussed it and agree this is necessary. That declaration landed like a physical blow. They had debated, judged, and decided my fate without my knowledge or involvement. The gifts I'd brought suddenly felt like pathetic bids for affection already revoked. When did you pack all this? I asked, gesturing at the bags. Yesterday? Mom replied. Jackson and Kevin helped. The timing wasn't coincidental. They'd intentionally waited until I was gone, unable to defend my space or standing. So what am I supposed to do now? Where am I going tonight? You should have friends you can stay with, Natalie suggested, her tone implying doubt. Or get a hotel, Jackson added. You just returned from New York. Surely you can afford a room for a few nights. They were unaware my company covered New York expenses, or that my modest savings were earmarked for future moving costs I'd intended to discuss with Mom when the moment felt right. Can I at least go inside and sort through these bags? I doubt you knew what was important when you packed. Everything's there, Mom stated firmly. Your room has been cleared. The finality of her words made my stomach clench.
They
erased me from the house while I was away, as if I'd never belonged. White-hot anger surged, momentarily incinerating the shock and hurt. 25 years of feeling inadequate, of striving for elusive approval, of treading on eggshells in my own home all culminated in this moment of utter betrayal. How dare you? I whispered, my voice low and trembling. How dare all of you stand there, self-righteous, while committing such cruelty? Dramatic as always, Natalie muttered. Dramatic? I laughed humorlessly. You ambush me after a business trip, toss my possessions in trash bags, and declare me homeless effective immediately, and I'm the dramatic one? We knew you'd react this way, Jackson said. That's why we did it while you were gone. You mean you waited until I wasn't here to defend myself? That's not responsible adult behavior. That's cowardly. Mom's face flushed with fury. Don't speak to us that way. After everything I've done for you, what exactly have you done for me lately? I challenged. Mom charged me rent, assigned most household chores, criticized my career choices, and constantly compared me unfavorably to my siblings. You ungrateful little, she began. Ungrateful? I cut her off. I've been nothing but grateful. I've thanked you, helped you, supported you emotionally and financially. I've swallowed every criticism, endured every comparison, and still showed up with love and respect. The veneer of family unity fractured as Mom turned to Jackson. I told you she'd make this difficult. Make what difficult? I pressed. Why now? Why the urgency? Why trash bags instead of boxes? Why the audience? I gestured to my siblings. Kevin shifted uneasily, the first hint of his wavering commitment. Mom's selling the house, he admitted. Kevin. Natalie hissed. She deserves to know, he retorted. The truth emerged in fragments as they bickered. Mom had received a significant offer well above market value, and the buyers wanted immediate occupancy. Instead of discussing it with me, she and my siblings had decided my portion of any inheritance would be reduced to offset my extended stay. So this is about money, I said, the pieces clicking. You're pushing me out to sell the house and avoid my claim on my share. You haven't contributed to the mortgage, Natalie argued. I've paid rent for 3 years. I countered. Where did that money go if not toward household expenses? Your rent barely covered your food and utilities, Mom dismissed. And what about Dad's will? I asked. He left the house to all of us. I was young, but I remember the lawyer explaining that. Uncomfortable glances exchanged among them. They'd clearly hoped I wouldn't remember or assert my legal rights. You'd sue your own mother? Jackson asked, incredulously. You'd disinherit your own daughter, I fired back. We'd reached an impasse, standing in the front yard while neighbors feigned disinterest. 3 years of pent-up resentment finally erupted as I voiced what I'd suppressed for too long. You've never respected my choices or viewed me as an equal adult. You've exploited me as free labor, emotional support, and a convenient target for your disappointments. And now you discard me when it's financially expedient. No one denied these accusations. Their silence affirmed every insecurity I'd harbored about my familial standing. In that moment of absolute clarity, I made a life-altering decision. I walked to my car, fortunately parked on the street during my trip, and opened the trunk. What are you doing? Mom demanded. Leaving, I replied simply. Isn't that what you want? One by one, I loaded the trash bags into my car, relieved my hatchback had folding rear seats. The bags held my entire life. Clothes, books, electronics. Mementos items packed without care or regard for their significance. When the car was full, I turned to face them one last time. They stood as a unified front, a unit from which I'd always been subtly excluded. You know, I said, I just landed the biggest client in our firm's history. I was about to get promoted. I even brought gifts for all of you to celebrate. I laughed softly at my own naivete. I actually thought you'd be proud of me. Leah, Kevin began, a hint of regret in his voice. No, I interrupted. You've all made your stance clear. I won't remain where I'm neither wanted nor valued. To their visible surprise, I smiled not from joy, but from the sudden lightness of having nothing left to lose. Goodbye, I said, getting into my car. I hope the money's worth it. I drove off without a backward glance, tears blurring my vision as familiar streets suddenly felt alien. My phone buzzed with messages, likely my family grasping the implications, but I ignored them. Planless and homeless, I called my most trusted confidant, college roommate, Zoe. Through choked sobs, I recounted the situation. Come here now, she instructed without hesitation. You can stay as long as you need. Zoe lived 30 minutes away with her boyfriend, Tyler. Upon arrival, they helped unload my car, offering no judgment or questions, transforming their spare room into a temporary sanctuary. That first night marked my nightmare. Curled on an unfamiliar bed, surrounded by unpacked trash bags, I cycled through shock, grief, and fury. My phone kept buzzing, and Zoe eventually persuaded me to read the messages. They were predictable. Mom insisted I was overreacting. Jackson lectured about responsibility. Natalie sent irrelevant apartment listings, and Kevin alone expressed regret for the method, not the decision. These people are toxic, Zoe declared after reviewing them. You need distance. They're still my family, I weakly asserted. Family doesn't treat each other this way, Tyler interjected. What they did was emotional abuse. Though the term felt extreme then. External validation helped me perceive the situation more clearly. It wasn't normal. It wasn't my fault, and crucially, I didn't have to tolerate it. That night, I made two pivotal decisions. I would forge a new life wholly independent from my family, and I would never again gauge my worth by their approval. As sleep finally claimed me in the early morning, a peculiar sense of possibility flickered beneath the pain. For the first time as an adult, I was genuinely free to define myself on my own terms. The initial week post-eviction was a whirlwind of practical hurdles. Zoe and Tyler insisted I stay indefinitely, but I knew their one-bedroom apartment was unsuitable long-term for 3 adults. Their generosity afforded me time to secure alternative housing without hasty compromises. During work breaks, I scoured apartment listings, quickly realizing Chicago's rental market was even fiercer than anticipated. Most demanded income proof, 3 times monthly rent, perfect credit, first last month's rent, security deposit, and landlord references, all of which I lacked. My modest savings, once seemingly substantial, barely covered upfront housing costs. After 10 days, I found a tiny studio in a less desirable neighborhood, whose landlord accepted a larger security deposit in lieu of rental history. The apartment bore no resemblance to the comfortable home I'd left. Paint peeled, appliances were antiquated. Strange noises permeated thin walls at all hours. But it was mine, a space where no one could pack my possessions or dispute my decisions. Moving in underscored my minimal ownership. My family had packed my personal items, but none of the household necessities. I lacked dishes, towels, cleaning supplies, or furniture beyond my bedroom set. We'll have a housewarming, Zoe declared, helping me unpack into the single closet. Everyone brings something useful, not decorative crap. True to her word, she organized a small gathering of college friends and colleagues. They arrived bearing secondhand furniture, kitchen essentials, and home goods. By evening, my apartment had transformed from an empty shell into a basic, functional living space. It's not much, I apologized, sitting on mismatched chairs, eating pizza from paper plates. It's a beginning, my friend Amber corrected. And you did it without their help. Financial reality struck hard that first month. After rent, utilities, groceries, and transport, my formerly adequate salary left almost nothing for savings or emergencies. I meticulously tracked every expense, meal planned, and identified the best grocery deals. Work became my steadfast anchor and salvation. The Monday after my eviction, I arrived early, immersing myself in the New York client campaign, channeling all emotional turmoil into creative energy. My boss noticed. You've been putting in serious hours, he remarked 2 weeks later. The New York presentation was excellent and your follow-up impeccable. Thank you, I simply replied, omitting the personal chaos fueling my professional dedication. We're restructuring the team, he continued. I'd like you to lead the digital marketing division. It includes a 15% raise and greater responsibility. The promotion arrived at the ideal moment. While not making me wealthy, the additional income alleviated the relentless financial anxiety of living alone. Crucially, it validated my career choice, the very path my family had dismissed as insufficient. Though my professional life thrived, I struggled emotionally. Nightmares of homelessness disrupted my sleep. Unexpected building noises triggered panic responses. Trust issues permeated interactions with friends and colleagues. You should consult a professional, Zoe suggested during a weekly coffee meet. Therapy's expensive, I countered. So is the emotional toll of trauma, she replied. Your new job offers health insurance. She guided me through the insurance portal to find therapists covered by my plan. The specialist I selected focused on family estrangement and adult children. Of controlling parents. Our first session unleashed an ocean of unrecognized hurt. What your family did was neither normal nor acceptable, my therapist asserted. Evicting someone without notice is legally dubious even for family. Doing it while you are absent demonstrates premeditation and a profound lack of respect. Weekly therapy sessions illuminated patterns of emotional manipulation embedded in my family relationships. I absorbed concepts like scapegoating, golden children, and conditional love. Gradually, I began reconstructing my self-worth, distinct from family approval. Practical skills became another pillar of my newfound independence. Living at home. I never had to manage certain adult responsibilities. Now I taught myself basic plumbing, car jump-starting, simple cooking, and minor home repairs. Each new skill felt like a small triumph, proving I could not only survive but flourish independently. 3 months after moving out, I accidentally ran into Kevin at a downtown coffee shop. The encounter was awkward and insightful. You look good, he said stiffly after we both froze in recognition. How are you? I'm doing well, I replied truthfully. Working a lot, I got promoted. That's great, he hesitated. Mom's been asking about you, has she? Strange way of showing concern, cutting off all contact. You cut off contact, he corrected. You stopped answering messages after being thrown out without notice. Yes, I did. We stood in uneasy silence, coffee cups held like shields. She wants you for Sunday dinner, he finally offered. To talk things through. On what terms? What do you mean? Does she acknowledge her wrongdoing? Is she apologizing? Or does she expect me to pretend nothing happened and resume the same dysfunctional relationship? His expression confirmed my suspicions. No acknowledgement, no apology, no change. I can't do that, Kevin. I'm not the same person who left 3 months ago. She's still your mother, he insisted. Yes, I conceded. And I'm still her daughter. That didn't stop her from treating me as if I meant nothing. As we parted, he appeared troubled, perhaps viewing our family dynamic through a fresh lens. That brief encounter fortified my resolve to uphold boundaries, even as it reopened barely healed wounds. The path forward wasn't linear or effortless. Some days I felt empowered by my independence. Others I crumbled under the burden of estrangement from my only family. But slowly, deliberately, I constructed a life entirely my own, shaped by my choices and governed by my values. It wasn't the life I'd envisioned, but it was becoming one I could genuinely be proud of. As 3 months morphed into 4, then 5, a remarkable transformation unfolded. The pervasive anxiety of my initial weeks of independence slowly receded, replaced by burgeoning confidence in my capacity to navigate any challenge. My promotion became a professional watershed. Leading the digital marketing division brought heightened visibility and direct client engagement. I built a compact yet effective team, deployed innovative analytic strategies, and consistently delivered results that impressed both clients and executives. Your campaign increased engagement by 40%, our CEO noted during a quarterly review. That's impressive work, Leah. This acknowledgement, delivered before the entire leadership team, felt more validating than any familial approval I'd ever chased. My colleagues perceived my worth unburdened by the distorting lens of family history or comparison. Financial stability brought tangible improvements. I exchanged my unreliable used car for a newer, warranted model. As my lease neared renewal, I secured a superior apartment in a safer neighborhood, featuring ample natural light and a small balcony for herbs and flowers. Furnishing my new space became an act of self-discovery. Liberated from my mother's aesthetic dictums and my siblings' opinions, I could finally cultivate my own taste. I embraced mid-century modern design, bold colors, and functional layouts. Each piece, whether new or pre-owned, mirrored my evolving identity. "This place feels like you," Zoe remarked during her visit to the redecorated apartment. "Your old room never did." She was right. My childhood bedroom had been stuck in adolescence, and my space at Mom's felt transient despite 3 years of occupancy. This apartment, though rented, was the first home that genuinely expressed my developing self. My social circle broadened beyond college friends. I joined a book club, volunteered at a local food bank, and accepted work event invitations I'd previously shunned. Through these activities, I encountered individuals who knew me only as I was now, not as the family disappointment or the coddled youngest. Among these new acquaintances was Daniel, a graphic designer collaborating with my marketing team. Our professional connection blossomed into friendship, then cautious romance. Unlike past relationships, which unfolded under my mother's scrutinizing gaze, this connection matured organically, devoid of external pressure or judgment. "Tell me about your family," Daniel prompted during our third date. "That's complicated," I replied, then offered a concise version of recent events. His response was refreshingly direct. "They sound toxic. I'm sorry you experienced that." No defense of family loyalty, no insinuation I deserve such treatment. No pressure to reconcile, just simple validation of my experience and emotions. Daniel's healthy family dynamics eventually offered a glimpse into functional relationships. Sunday dinners at his parents' home showcased respectful disagreement, unconditional support, and authentic interest in each other's lives. The stark contrast with my own family was both painful and illuminating. My therapy sessions progressed from crisis management to profound healing and personal growth. With professional guidance, I scrutinized childhood patterns, identified unhealthy coping mechanisms, and formulated strategies for establishing boundaries in all relationships. "You've made remarkable progress," my therapist noted after a particularly insightful session. "You're breaking generational patterns." The observation profoundly resonated. Perhaps the most significant triumph wasn't external success, but internal transformation. This psychological transformation enabled me to recognize and reject the dysfunctional dynamics that had shaped my family for generations. The shift manifested in unforeseen ways. I grew more assertive at work, proposing daring campaigns and confidently defending my concepts. I established clearer boundaries with friends, no longer agreeing to draining plans or those violating my values. I revived long-abandoned interests, photography and creative writing, that hadn't met family approval. I also made the difficult choice to block all communication from my mother and older siblings. After months of texts, from guilt-tripping to outright hostile, I realized each interaction derailed my emotional healing. Kevin was the sole exception. His messages had evolved from familial pressure to genuine, if clumsy, attempts at independent connection. 5 months post-eviction, I attended a marketing conference and unexpectedly reconnected with Mrs. Reynolds, my high school journalism teacher. She consistently fostered my writing and creative thinking, unlike other adults who fixated solely on my academic performance relative to my siblings. "Leah Harrison, how wonderful to see you," she greeted warmly. "Still in marketing." Our coffee conversation revealed she'd always seen potential in me my family had overlooked or dismissed. Her belief in my capabilities was genuine, not conditional, a rare gift during my formative years. "You always had a unique perspective," she told me. "I'm not surprised you found success on your own terms." That serendipitous meeting inspired me to connect with others facing family alienation or navigating independence. I launched a blog offering practical advice for young adults establishing lives without family support, covering everything from budgeting to emotional resilience. The blog linked me to an online community of individuals with shared experiences. Comments and messages flooded in, readers finding validation in my narrative and hope in my journey. What started as personal catharsis blossomed into a valuable platform for mutual support and guidance. "Your post on holiday coping strategies literally got me through Christmas," one reader wrote. "For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. Protecting my peace. By aiding others, my own healing progressed." The blog provided a space to process experiences through writing, converting painful memories into practical lessons and surrounding me with a community that understood without need for elaborate explanations. As the 6-month anniversary of my forced independence neared, I recognized that the family who had cast me aside had inadvertently granted me the greatest gift, the chance to unearth my strength, reshape my identity, and construct a life true to my authentic self. The journey had been arduous, yet the destination proved worth every challenging step. Exactly 6 months after discovering my belongings in garbage bags, my phone vibrated incessantly. Messages from my mother flooded in 1, then 5, then dozens more throughout the day. By evening, I'd received precisely 60 texts from her, ranging from accusations to pleas. Where are you? Why won't you answer after everything I've done for you? I need to talk to you. This is an emergency. Please call me. The final message, sent at 11:30 p.m., struck a different chord. I made a mistake. I need your help. Against my therapist's advice and my own better judgment, I read them. Something profound had clearly transpired, powerful enough to pierce my mother's pride and denial. Despite everything, a flicker of concern surfaced beneath my carefully built defenses. The next morning I called Kevin, opting for the sibling who'd shown at least a hint of regret regarding past events. What's going on with Mom? I asked.
His heavy sigh echoed through the phone. She lost everything.
The story unfolded in unbelievable fragments. Mom had indeed sold the family home, receiving a substantial sum intended to secure her retirement. Instead of a wise investment, she'd entrusted the entire amount to a financial advisor introduced by a church acquaintance. It was a scam, Kevin explained. The guy vanished with her money and at least 10 other victims. That's terrible, I said, genuinely sympathetic despite our history. But why contact me now? Where are Jackson and Natalie? Another pause. They're not speaking to her. What? Why? She promised each of us a portion of the house proceeds. Jackson had already put a deposit on a vacation property. Natalie planned a home renovation, and you? I was more cautious, he admitted, but I'm still angry. She made decisions without consulting any of us, then lost everything. The irony wasn't lost on me. My mother, who'd excluded me from decisions about my own living situation, now experienced the sting of similar treatment from her other children. There's more, Kevin continued reluctantly. She has nowhere to live. The new owners took possession last week. She's been in a motel, but her funds are dwindling. Where does she expect to go? She mentioned your new apartment. A cold wave of disbelief swept over me. After evicting me without warning, my mother's strategy was to move in with. The sheer audacity was staggering. That's not happening, I stated firmly. I know, Kevin conceded, to my surprise. That would be unreasonable, after everything. But she needs something, Leah. She's still our mother. The predicament compelled me to grapple with complex questions of obligation, forgiveness, and boundaries. What did I owe the woman who'd raised but also betrayed me? Could I assist without sacrificing the healthy independence I'd forged? Was compassion possible without enabling toxic patterns? After consulting my therapist, I agreed to meet Mom at a coffee shop, a neutral ground where I could exit if needed. Daniel offered to wait nearby, providing moral support and an escape route should things intensify. My mother appeared diminished upon arrival, her confident bearing replaced by a nervous hunch. Her usual uniform of designer clothes and perfect makeup was swapped for casual wear and minimal cosmetics. She looked years older. Thank you for coming, she began, clutching her coffee cup. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't, I admitted honestly. We sat in tense silence, the weight of our shared history palpable. I lost everything, she finally confessed. The house, the money, everything, Kevin told me. Jackson. And Natalie won't speak to me. They say I betrayed them. I nodded, acknowledging her distress without assuming responsibility. I need help, Leah. Her voice cracked. I have nowhere to go. The unspoken request hung in the air, clear. She expected me, the child she'd discarded, to rescue her. 6 months prior, I might have immediately agreed, desperate for her approval and a chance to prove my value. Now I perceive the situation with stark clarity. Do you understand what you did to me? I asked quietly. She blinked, clearly unprepared. I was trying to help you become independent, by throwing me out without warning. I interjected. By packing my things in trash bags while I was away? By ambushing me with the entire family witnessing my humiliation? I may have handled it poorly, she conceded, but my intentions were good. Your intentions? I laughed. Without humor. You sold the house without telling me. You planned to reduce my inheritance. You treated me like an inconvenience, not your daughter. Tears welled in her eyes. I made mistakes. Yes, I agreed. You did, and now you're facing consequences just as I faced the consequences of your actions 6 months ago. So you won't help me. Indignation crept into her tone. After everything I sacrificed raising you. I didn't say that, I corrected. I'm willing to help, but on my terms, not yours. I outlined the boundaries I'd carefully established with my therapist. I would assist her in finding affordable senior housing and contribute a modest monthly sum towards her expenses. I would not allow her to move in, borrow money directly, or revert to our past controlling dynamic. That's your idea of help? She asked incredulously. That's what I can offer while still respecting myself, I replied. Take it or leave. Our conversation spanned nearly 2 hours, cycling through accusations, justifications, tears, and hesitant steps toward mutual understanding. My mother struggled to accept that our relationship had fundamentally shifted, her authority irrevocably diminished by her own choices. I never thought you'd be so harsh, she remarked at one point. I never thought I'd need to be, I countered. But here we are. By the meeting's close, we'd forged an uneasy truce. I would research housing options and assist with applications. She would attend family therapy as a condition of continued support. Neither of us was fully content, yet it was a starting point that preserved my boundaries while acknowledging our bond. As we prepared to depart, she posed the question that underscored her limited comprehension of my journey. When will things go back to normal between us? I met her gaze directly, with compassion yet unwavering honesty. They won't. That version of our relationship is gone. We might build something new, something healthier, but we can't regress. Her face reflected the reality of permanent change finally sinking in. In that moment, I sensed an unexpected internal shift. The anger that had fueled me for months didn't vanish, but its grip on my heart loosened. I could now view my mother not as the omnipotent figure of my childhood, but as a flawed individual whose poor choices had cost her dearly. This realization didn't excuse her actions or negate the harm she'd caused. It simply allowed me to respond from a place of strength, not reactive pain. As I left the coffee shop, Daniel joined me. How did it go? He asked. Exactly as difficult as I anticipated, I replied, but necessary. Are you okay? I considered the query. Not yet, but I will be. That evening, I received messages from both Jackson and Natalie for the first time in months. News of my meeting with Mom had circulated, along with my constrained offer of aid. Their texts contained no apologies for their role in my eviction. Only thinly veiled attempts to assess Mom's financial state and my involvement. I left both messages unanswered, recognizing them as perpetuations of unhealthy dynamics, not sincere reconciliation efforts. Some relationships might mend with time and effort. Others required distance from my well-being. Discerning the difference was crucial to my continued development. The family crisis, triggered by 60 desperate messages, didn't yield a Hollywood-esque reconciliation or a tidy resolution. Instead, it offered something far more precious, confirmation that the boundaries I'd established were vital, and the independent life I'd forged was worth safeguarding. In the weeks following our coffee shop confrontation, I assisted my mother in navigating the intricate process of securing affordable senior housing. My aid was practical, not financial, researching options, clarifying application requirements, and occasional transportation to appointments. Pine Meadows, her eventual residence, provided independent living apartments with optional support services. The modest studio unit represented a significant downgrade from our family home, yet offered security, community, and a fresh start. It's small, she observed on move-in day, surveying the compact kitchen and living area. So was my first apartment, I gently reminded her. You adapt. The parallel wasn't lost on her. Perhaps for the first time, my mother experienced the challenges of rebuilding with limited resources, the precise situation she'd thrust upon me without warning. Our relationship remained complex, but the enforced distance fostered gradual healing. Weekly therapy sessions, initially reluctant, became a structured setting to address ingrained patterns and cultivate healthier communication. I never realized how my own upbringing affected my parenting, she confessed during a breakthrough session. My mother was even more controlling. Understanding the roots of her behavior didn't excuse it, but offered context for processing my childhood experiences. Generational trauma had shaped our family dynamics in ways none of us had recognized. As agreed, I contributed a modest monthly sum toward her expenses, precisely calculated to offer support without jeopardizing my own financial security. This arrangement, formalized through our therapist, established clear expectations and boundaries. My sibling relationships diversified. Kevin and I cautiously reconnected, meeting for coffee and maintaining text exchanges. His apology for his role in my eviction, and his acknowledgement of wrongdoing, opened the door to potential reconciliation. I should have stood up for you, he admitted during one meeting. I knew it was wrong. Why didn't you? I asked. Not accusingly, but with genuine curiosity. It was easier to go along, he confessed. I've always done what Mom and Jackson thought best, even when I disagreed. His candor exposed patterns I recognized from my own life, the intricate dynamics that had constrained all our choices. Jackson remained aloof, occasionally sending impersonal holiday greetings or family announcements, but making no effort toward meaningful connection. His pride prevented him from acknowledging any fault, and I no longer felt driven to seek his approval or forgiveness. The most surprising turn came from Natalie. 6 months after Mom's financial downfall, my sister faced her own crisis. Her husband announced a divorce. Suddenly single with 2 children and a lifestyle she couldn't independently maintain. She gained unexpected insight into vulnerability. I never understood what it meant to have your life upended overnight, she confessed in an unexpected call. I think I get it now. Our reconciliation was tentative, incomplete, yet it opened unforeseen avenues. We began monthly lunches, gradually rebuilding trust through consistent, small interactions rather than dramatic apologies. While family relationships slowly shifted, my professional life soared. 1 year after the promotion coinciding with my forced independence, I was offered director of marketing, overseeing all campaigns and client relations. The new role included a substantial salary increase, stock options, and enhanced benefits. For the first time, I felt truly financially secure, capable of building long-term stability beyond mere month-to-month survival. This security enabled a dream I'd secretly cherished but never voiced to my family: homeownership. With a realtor's help, I found a charming condo in a diverse neighborhood with a reasonable commute. The day I received the keys, I stood alone in the empty living room, overwhelmed by the moment's significance. This space was mine, purchased with my earnings, chosen by my preferences, secured by my credit and reputation. No one could pack my belongings, demand I leave, or diminish this achievement. I hosted a housewarming for friends who'd supported me through the preceding year's darkest times. Zoe, Tyler, Daniel, work colleagues, therapy group members, and even Kevin attended, filling my new home with laughter and positive energy. I propose a toast, Zoe announced, raising her glass. To Leah, who turned garbage bags into a gorgeous home through sheer determination and courage. The reference to my journey's difficult start evoked knowing smiles, not painful memories. What was once traumatic had become an origin story of resilience and growth. As my external circumstances solidified, I continued the internal work of healing and self-discovery. Encouraged by my therapist, I established a small scholarship fund for young adults aging out of foster care or escaping difficult family situations. These modest grants helped recipients with security deposits, professional attire, or educational costs, addressing practical needs often overlooked. You've transformed your pain into purpose, my therapist observed after I shared feedback. From the first recipients, that's true healing. The observation resonated deeply. The betrayal that had shattered my security ultimately unveiled strengths I might never have discovered. Being forced to stand alone had taught me I could not only survive but thrive on my own terms. My relationship with my mother would never revert to its past form, nor did I desire it to. The dynamics defining our earlier interactions were fundamentally unhealthy, rooted in control, not respect. Instead, we slowly built something new, a relationship between adults, with clear boundaries and realistic expectations. During our final therapy session of the year, Mom uttered something that showed how far we'd both come. "I'm proud of you," she stated simply. "Not just because you're successful by conventional standards, though you are. I'm proud of who you've become, how you've handled adversity, much of which I caused." This acknowledgement, offered without qualification or comparison to my siblings, was perhaps the most genuine approval she'd ever expressed. It mattered to me, but differently than it once would have. Her validation was welcome, yet no longer essential for my self-worth or identity. That evolution encapsulated the most profound lesson of my journey. Love should not demand perfect compliance, nor should achievement be a prerequisite for belonging or familial bonds. While significant, family connections cannot solely define our entire sense of self. There are wounds that never fully mend, relationships beyond complete restoration, and betrayals that permanently reshape our understanding of trust and loyalty. Yet, within those painful truths reside opportunities for growth that might otherwise lie dormant. Sometimes, being forced from what feels like home propels us toward our true place, toward the person we were destined to become. What commenced with garbage bags at a gate concluded with the keys to my own front door, both literally and metaphorically. The trajectory between those points reshaped not only my circumstances but my fundamental comprehension of family, independence, and self-worth. In shedding what I believed I needed, I discovered what I truly merited, a life dictated by my choices, rather than others' expectations. Have you ever experienced a moment where a family betrayal ultimately sparked unexpected strength?
How did
you reconstruct your life after a significant relationship breakdown? Thanks for watching.
Take care. Good luck.